Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Today, we stand on the threshold of a new day, a fresh opportunity, a moment in time that is a gift we often take for granted. But what if, just for a moment, we changed our perspective? What if the first thought we have in the morning, before our feet even touch the ground, is not of the burdens that await us or the challenges that loom ahead, but instead of gratitude? What if we began our mornings by thanking God first, before all else, before the emails, before the news, before the rush of the world that seeks to overwhelm us? The truth is, in a world that constantly pulls at us, we need a foundation, a solid foundation, one that is built on faith, gratitude, and trust. And when we start our day with God, we start with the Creator, the one who holds all things together, who knows the path ahead of us, and who, even in the darkest moments, is our light. So today, let us delve into the power of beginning each morning with thankfulness to God. Because it is not just the right thing to do, but the life-transforming thing to do. Thank God first every morning and watch how it changes the rest of your day and your life. Gratitude is often seen as an afterthought, something we feel when we receive something good or when life is favorable. But what if we were to shift our perspective and make gratitude the very first thing we engage with each day? Imagine waking up not with a sense of dread or worry about the day ahead, but with an immediate sense of thankfulness. Thankfulness that you've been given the gift of another day to live, to breathe, to experience. This simple act, this moment of gratitude, has the power to completely transform the course of your day. When we start our mornings with gratitude, we aren't simply acknowledging the blessings that we have received. We are establishing a mindset that aligns us with the divine, placing us in a posture of humility and recognition. It's about recognizing that while we may have worked hard to reach where we are, there is still a higher power that guides, sustains, and blesses us in ways we cannot always comprehend. Gratitude places us in the right frame of mind, acknowledging that all things come from God, and that our ability to face the challenges of the day is not just through our own strength, but through His. Starting the day with gratitude also centers us. It pulls our attention away from the chaos that may be waiting for us, be it responsibilities, meetings, or personal struggles, and refocuses our hearts and minds on what truly matters. In the business of life, it's easy to become overwhelmed with the demands of the day, and often we wake up with the weight of those burdens already on our shoulders. But gratitude acts as a reset button. It's like a breath of fresh air that clears the fog and allows us to see with clarity. Instead of immediately feeling the stress of what needs to be done, gratitude places our priorities in perspective. The act of thanking God first each morning, before anything else, also cultivates a sense of trust. It's an acknowledgement that we are not in control of everything. So often, we wake up and begin to plan, organize, and worry. But starting with gratitude means we begin by acknowledging that God has a plan for our lives, one that is good, even when we can't see it. Gratitude is not just about saying thank you for the good things that are obvious. It's about saying thank you for the unseen blessings, for the challenges that we not fully understand, but that are shaping us into who we are meant to be. It is an expression of trust that no matter what the day holds, God's hand is in it. Furthermore, gratitude fosters a sense of peace. The Bible tells us to cast our anxieties on God because He cares for us. By starting the day with gratitude, we remind ourselves of God's care. We acknowledge that no matter what may come our way, we are not facing it alone. When we thank God first, we create an atmosphere of peace in our hearts. God, knowing that we don't have to fight the battles of the day on our own strength. The peace that comes from gratitude enables us to respond to challenges with calmness and wisdom instead of reacting impulsively or with anxiety. When gratitude becomes a habit, it has the potential to shift not just our mornings, but the entire course of our lives. It teaches us to focus on the blessings rather than the burdens. It rewires our brain to see opportunities instead of obstacles. We begin to view everything, even the struggles and trials, as part of God's greater purpose. This shift in perspective allows us to approach each day with a heart full of gratitude, knowing that whatever happens, God is with us and His love for us never fails. As we begin each day with gratitude, we also begin to develop a deeper sense of awareness of the small, everyday blessings that we might otherwise overlook. We learn to recognize the simple joys, the warmth of the sun, the sound of birds singing, the ability to move and work, the love of family and friends. These moments, which may seem insignificant, become profound reminders of God's goodness and faithfulness in our lives. Gratitude has the power to open our eyes to the beauty around us, helping us to live with a greater sense of joy and contentment. In every situation, whether good or bad, starting the day with gratitude allows us to see that God's hand is at work. It grounds us in the reality that every breath we take is a gift, every opportunity is an extension of His grace, and every challenge is a chance to grow closer to Him. Gratitude doesn't just help us acknowledge the blessings, it helps us recognize the bigger picture, the divine plan unfolding before us. By thanking God first each morning, we step into the day with a heart full of gratitude, ready to face whatever comes our way, because we know that we are not alone. When we wake up each morning, the first moments of our day are crucial. They set the tone for everything that follows. What if we were to use those first moments not to focus on our to-do lists, the responsibilities that await us, or the anxiety that sometimes accompanies the start of a new day, but instead to center ourselves around the purpose for which we were created? The truth is, each day that we are given is an opportunity to align our hearts with God's purpose. And the best way to do that is to begin with Him. Aligning our hearts with purpose at the start of the day is more than just a routine. It is an act of intentionality. It's a recognition that our lives are not our own. We are not simply here to fulfill our own desires, chase after our own ambitions, or live in a way that only serves our own needs. We are part of a greater story, a divine narrative that was written long before we were born, a story that involves purpose, meaning, and a higher calling. Each day we live is another chapter in that story, and how we begin each day can determine how well we align with God's greater plan. When we start our day by acknowledging God's purpose for us, we place ourselves in a position of humility. We recognize that we don't have all the answers, and we don't have the ability to control every outcome, but God does. When we allow ourselves to be aligned with His purpose, we place our trust in the fact that He is the one who orchestrates all things, and that every situation we encounter is part of His divine will. This act of surrendering our will to His allows us to live with a sense of peace and clarity, knowing that our actions are guided by something far greater than ourselves. This alignment with God's purpose also invites us to see the day through a different lens. Instead of viewing the day ahead as a series of tasks or challenges to conquer, we begin to view it as an opportunity to serve God. Our work, our interactions with others, our commitments, And even our struggles take on a new meaning when we recognize that they are part of God's plan for us. We understand that each moment, no matter how mundane it may seem, can be a moment of worship. Whether we are meeting with colleagues, caring for our families, or simply going about our daily responsibilities, everything becomes an opportunity to glorify God and reflect His love and purpose to the world around us. When we align ourselves with God's purpose in the morning, we also begin to see our day in light of eternity. It is easy to become overwhelmed by the temporary struggles of the world, financial pressures, career challenges, relational conflicts, or personal health issues. But when we begin each day by aligning our hearts with God's eternal purpose, these challenges take on a different perspective. We realize that our time here on earth is short and that the trials we face are temporary. In light of God's eternal plan, they are but small moments in a much bigger picture. This perspective helps us not only endure the difficulties of the day, but also approach them with grace, patience, and the assurance that God is using them for our good. Additionally, aligning with God's purpose helps us stay focused. The world around us is filled with distractions. Social media, entertainment, the demands of daily life. All of these things pull at our attention and try to divert us from our true calling. But when we center ourselves on God's purpose each morning, we gain a sense of clarity. We know what truly matters and what doesn't. We understand that our purpose is not to accumulate wealth, status, or recognition, but to live in a way that brings glory to God. This focus enables us to say no to things that pull us away from our calling and eyes to the things that align with God's purpose for our lives. Aligning with God's purpose also strengthens our sense of mission. Each day, we are given the chance to advance God's kingdom on earth. We are not here just to live for ourselves, but to be part of something far greater than our individual lives. When we start each day by recognizing this, we are reminded that we have been entrusted with a mission to love others, to serve them, to be a light in a dark world, and to reflect the character of God in all that we do. This understanding propels us forward, inspiring us to live intentionally and purposefully, knowing that our lives have eternal significance. Finally, aligning with God's purpose allows us to experience true joy. It is easy to get caught up in the pursuit of happiness through external means. Wealth, success, recognition, or material possessions. But these things are fleeting, and they often leave us empty. True joy comes when we align ourselves with God's purpose for our lives. It is found in knowing that we are living in accordance with His will, doing what He has called us to do, and trusting Him with the outcome. This joy is not dependent on circumstances, but is rooted in the assurance that we are filling the very reason for which we were created. By starting each day with the intention of aligning our hearts with God's purpose, we set ourselves on a path that leads to fulfillment, peace, and eternal significance. This alignment gives us clarity, direction, and the courage to face whatever the day may bring. We become instruments of God's love and grace, and our lives become a testimony to His greatness. The way we approach the beginning of each day significantly impacts the rest of our day. The first moments after waking up are often a reflection of our inner state and can set the tone for everything that follows. Imagine waking up and immediately feeling overwhelmed by the weight of the world, the demands that await us, or the worries that cloud our minds. This often leads to a day filled with stress, anxiety, and impatience. But what if, instead of rushing into the pressures of the day, we took a moment to center ourselves and set a peaceful tone? By starting our morning with gratitude and a connection to God, we create an atmosphere of peace that can carry us through the challenges of the day. Peace is not something that can be achieved through external circumstances alone. It is not dependent on the absence of challenges or the fulfillment of all our desires. True peace comes from an inner calm that is rooted in our relationship with God. When we thank God first thing in the morning, we are acknowledging that He is in control of everything, and that no matter what the day holds, we can trust in His provision, guidance, and protection. This trust allows us to experience peace even in the midst of chaos. The world is filled with distractions and noise that seek to pull us in 1,000 different directions. The demands of work, family, social obligations, and personal expectations all create a sense of urgency and pressure. These external pressures can easily cause us to feel scattered and overwhelmed. However, when we start our day with gratitude and focus on God's presence, we are reminded of what truly matters. Gratitude for the gift of life, for the breath we take, and for the opportunity to live each day with purpose brings us back to a place of inner calm. We are able to release the unnecessary stress and distractions that may try to consume us, and instead focus on the peace that comes from knowing that God is with us. When we align ourselves with God's purpose at the beginning of the day, we experience a peace that transcends understanding. We are not relying on our own strength, but on God's power to carry us through whatever comes our way. The peace that we experience is not based on the absence of difficulties, but on the assurance that we do not have to face them alone. We can be at peace with the uncertainties of life because we know that God is sovereign and that He is working all things for our good. This peace becomes a shield that guards our hearts and minds, protecting us from the anxieties and fears that often plague us. Gratitude in the morning also creates a sense of perspective. It helps us see beyond our immediate circumstances and focus on the bigger picture. We may wake up feeling overwhelmed by the demands of the day, but when we take a moment to thank God, we are reminded of His faithfulness and His goodness in our lives. We remember that He has always provided for us, even in times of difficulty, and that His love never fails. This perspective shifts our focus away from the stress and challenges of the day and redirects our attention to the blessings we have. The gratitude grounds us in the truth that despite the struggles we may face, God is present with us and working in our lives. When we start our day with gratitude and focus on God's presence, we create an environment of peace within ourselves. This inner peace flows outward, affecting how we interact with others and how we respond to situations throughout the day. Instead of reacting to stress with frustration or impatience, we can respond with calmness and wisdom. We are better able to navigate difficult conversations, make thoughtful decisions, and maintain a sense of composure in the face of challenges. Peace is not just something we experience for ourselves, it is something that we can share with others. When we are at peace within, we can be a source of peace to those around us, offering a calming presence in the midst of turmoil. Moreover, when we cultivate peace in the morning, it helps us deal with conflict and adversity in a more grounded and centered way. Life is full of unexpected twists and turns, disagreements, obstacles, disappointments, and setbacks. These situations can easily disrupt our peace and cause us to lose focus. However, when we have established a routine of gratitude and connection with God at the start of each day, we are better equipped to handle these disruptions. Instead of reacting impulsively or being controlled by our emotions, we can pause, take a breath, and respond in a way that reflects God's peace. This practice allows us to remain calm in the face of storms, knowing that God is in control of every situation. The peace that comes from starting the day with gratitude is also deeply restorative. Many of us wake up feeling tired, drained, or anxious about the day ahead. But when we take the time to thank God for the gift of life and the opportunities of the new day, we receive a spiritual renewal that replenishes our energy and our focus. This peace gives us the strength to face whatever lies ahead, knowing that we are not relying on our own abilities, but on the grace and strength that God provides. It rejuvenates our spirit, providing a deep sense of calm and confidence that carries us through the day. When we prioritize peace in the morning, we invite God's presence into our day and create a space where His peace can reign. This peace doesn't just come from our circumstances or our own efforts. It is a gift from God that surpasses all understanding. It is a peace that guards our hearts and minds, a peace that enables us to live each day with grace, clarity, and purpose. By starting each morning with gratitude and a focus on God, we set ourselves up for a day filled with His peace, a peace that will sustain us no matter what challenges we may face. In our fast-paced world, it's easy to fall into the trap of trying to control every aspect of our lives. From the moment we wake up, we begin planning and organizing, trying to manage the countless tasks that await us. But the reality is, no matter how much we plan or how much we try to control, there are so many things outside of our control. From unexpected circumstances to things beyond our understanding, the truth is that we don't hold the reins of life the way we often think we do. This is why it's so important, especially in the morning, to acknowledge that God is in control of everything. Starting the day with this recognition that God is sovereign over every moment releases us from the pressure to control every detail of our lives and opens our hearts to trust in His greater plan. Acknowledging God's sovereignty first thing in the morning brings a sense of peace and relief. It's a declaration that, despite the uncertainties of life, we do not have to face them alone. God is in control of our circumstances, our future, and everything that happens around us. This doesn't mean that life will always unfold according to our preferences or that we won't face difficulties. Rather, it means that we can trust in God's wisdom, timing, and purposes. There's a comfort that comes from knowing that He is sovereign and that His plan for our lives is good, even when we can't see the full picture. When we begin the day with this acknowledgement of God's sovereignty, it changes how we approach everything that comes our way. Instead of reacting with anxiety or frustration when things don't go as planned, we can approach each situation with trust. We are able to let go the need to control and manipulate every outcome. Instead, we recognize that God's hand is in every detail of our lives, and He is working all things for our good. Whether the day brings successes or setbacks, we can face it with the assurance that God is in control and He is guiding us through each moment. This acknowledgement of God's sovereignty also helps us see the bigger picture. It's easy to get caught up in the small, immediate concerns of our daily lives. The meetings, the deadlines, the challenges that seem overwhelming in the moment. But when we begin each day by recognizing God's sovereignty, we are reminded that these small things are part of a much greater purpose. We may not always understand why certain things happen, but we can trust that God is using every situation to fulfill His greater plan. This perspective helps us navigate life with patience and faith, knowing that God's purpose will be revealed in time. Furthermore, Acknowledging God's sovereignty fosters humility in our hearts. The truth is, we are not the masters of our own fate. We can make decisions and take actions, but ultimately, it is God who holds our future in His hands. When we start the day by acknowledging His sovereignty, we are reminded that we are not in control of everything, and that's okay. This humbling recognition shifts our focus from our own abilities and achievements to God's wisdom and guidance. It helps us relinquish the burden of trying to control everything and places us in a position of trust where we can allow God to lead us instead of relying on our own strength. Starting the day by acknowledging God's sovereignty also empowers us to surrender our worries and concerns to Him. Often, we wake up with a long list of things we need to accomplish, and it's easy to become anxious about all the tasks that lie ahead. But when we recognize that God is in control, we are reminded that we don't have to carry these burdens alone. We can cast our anxieties on Him, knowing that He cares for us. This surrender doesn't mean that we stop working or striving to do our best. Rather, it means that we trust God with the outcome. It means that we don't have to carry the weight of the day on our shoulders because we know that God is with us every step of the way. Acknowledging God's sovereignty also strengthens our faith. It builds our confidence in His ability to handle whatever comes our way. We may face challenges or obstacles that feel insurmountable, but when we begin the day by remembering that God is sovereign, we are reminded that He has the power to overcome any difficulty. This faith empowers us to face the day with courage, knowing that we are not relying on our own strength, but on God's strength. His sovereignty gives us the confidence to step into each moment, knowing that He is with us and that His purposes will prevail. When we make it a habit to acknowledge God's sovereignty every morning, we create a foundation of trust that will carry us through the ups and downs of life. We become less anxious, less fearful, and more open to the guidance of the Holy Spirit. We stop trying to control the uncontrollable, and instead, we begin to walk by faith, trusting that God knows what's best for us. This surrender brings freedom, a freedom from the weight of worry and control, and a freedom to live with the confidence that God is guiding us toward His perfect will. In the end, starting each day by acknowledging that God is in control is not just a statement of belief, but a declaration of trust. It's a reminder that no matter what happens, God's sovereignty remains constant, and we can rest in the assurance that He holds our lives in His hands. As we move through the day, we are empowered to face whatever comes our way, knowing that we are not alone and that God is in control of every situation, every challenge, and every moment. Starting each day by thanking God first, a mindset that allows us to transform struggles into opportunities. We often view challenges as obstacles that stand in the way of our happiness or success, but when we approach them from a place of gratitude, we begin to see them differently. Challenges are no longer burdens that weight us down. Instead, they become opportunities for growth, for deepening our faith, and for experiencing the strength of God in ways we might not have otherwise. The perspective shift that gratitude provides enables us to face difficulties with a new mindset, one that embraces struggle as part of God's greater plan. When we begin our mornings by thanking God, we are reminding ourselves that God works in all circumstances, even those that seem difficult or painful. We acknowledge that our lives are not free from hardship, but that hardship has a purpose. It may be uncomfortable, but it's through these moments that we grow the most. Life doesn't always go as we expect it to, and the challenges we face may seem overwhelming at times, but starting the day with gratitude reminds us that we are never alone in those struggles. God's presence is with us, guiding us through every trial. This recognition helps us approach our struggles with patience and perseverance, knowing that they are not without purpose. The key to transforming struggles into opportunities is in how we choose to respond to them. Gratitude is a powerful response. It reminds us that we don't react with frustration, anger, or fear when we face difficulties. Instead, we can choose to respond with trust and faith in God's sovereignty. When we acknowledge God first thing in the morning, we are setting the tone for the rest of the day. We are choosing to look at our problems through a lens of faith rather than fear. We begin to see our struggles as opportunities to rely more on God, to experience His grace, and to witness His power at work in our lives. By starting the day with thankfulness, we are also reminded that challenges are often the catalyst for personal growth. Many times, it is the hard times that push us to become more than we thought we could be. Difficult situations stretch us, refine us, and build character. They challenge us to rise above our own limitations, to trust in God's provision, and to lean into His strength. If we didn't face struggles, we would never experience the depth of God's power and grace. When we express gratitude for these moments, we shift our focus from the difficulty itself to the opportunity for spiritual growth and personal transformation that the challenge provides. This perspective also enables us to endure difficulties with a sense of peace and contentment. When we thank God for the opportunity to grow through our struggles, we take away some of the power that hardship has over us. Instead of allowing challenges to consume our thoughts or drain our energy, we can approach them with a sense of calm, knowing that God is using them to shape us into the people we are meant to become. Gratitude allows us to endure hardship without being overwhelmed by it. It helps us maintain a sense of hope and optimism, even in the most trying of circumstances. In addition, by recognizing that struggles are opportunities, we begin to develop a deeper sense of resilience. Life will never be free from challenges, but with gratitude, we build the mental and emotional fortitude to face whatever comes our way. We become more flexible, more adaptable, and more capable of navigating the ups and downs of life with grace. We start to see the beauty in the process of growth that comes through adversity. Rather than viewing struggles as setbacks, we learn to embrace them as necessary parts of the journey that lead us to greater things. A gratitude strengthens our resilience, helping us bounce back stronger after each challenge. This shift in perspective also enhances our ability to inspire others. When we choose gratitude over frustration in the face of difficulty, we become living examples of faith in action. Our ability to face struggles with a sense of hope and purpose can serve as a powerful witness to those around us. People will notice how we handle adversity, and they may be encouraged to approach their own struggles with the same grace and faith. Our gratitude becomes a testimony of God's faithfulness, showing others that even in hardship, there is always room for growth, learning, and transformation. In essence, gratitude helps us realize that God never wastes a moment of our lives, not even the challenging ones. Every difficulty, every setback, and every obstacle is part of the larger plan He has for us. When we start each day by thanking God, we open ourselves to the possibility that our struggles are not just random or senseless, but are opportunities that God can use to refine us, to teach us, and to draw us closer to Him. This perspective enables us to embrace each day with a sense of purpose, knowing that no matter what comes our way, God is working through it to help us grow into the person He has created us to be. When we choose to see struggles as opportunities, we begin to understand that every challenge is a stepping stone toward becoming who God intended us to be. Gratitude shifts our mindset from one of resistance to one of acceptance. It transforms the way we view hardship, turning it into something positive, something with purpose. By thanking God first every morning, we not only start the day with a heart full of gratitude, but we also set ourselves up for a day where we can face challenges with faith, knowing that each struggle is an opportunity to grow stronger and closer to God. When we begin each day by thanking God, we are not only expressing gratitude for the gift of life itself, but also acknowledging that every moment of the day holds potential for purpose, meaning, and impact. The act of starting our mornings with gratitude shifts our perspective from merely surviving the day to embracing it with intention. It's easy to wake up feeling overwhelmed by the tasks and responsibilities that lie ahead, but when we pause to thank God, we are reminded that each day is a precious opportunity to fulfill our purpose, to serve others, and to honor God in all that we do. This shift in mindset helps us approach the day with a sense of joy, excitement, and anticipation, knowing that we are walking in alignment with the divine purpose He has set before us. Gratitude also fosters a deeper connection with God. In a world full of distractions, it is easy to forget to acknowledge the one who is the source of all things. By starting the day with thankfulness, we are intentionally setting aside time to focus on Him, to align our hearts with His will, and to cultivate a deeper relationship with Him. This connection strengthens our faith and deepens our understanding of who God is and how He is working in our lives. It's through this connection that we are able to receive guidance, wisdom, and peace that empowers us to face the challenges of the day with confidence. Furthermore, when we begin the day by thanking God, we are setting a tone of humility. Gratitude reminds us that everything we have, our health, our family, our talents, our opportunities, is a gift from God. It is not by our own strength or ability that we accomplish anything, but by His grace. This humility helps us approach the day with a sense of dependence on God, recognizing that we need His guidance and strength to navigate the challenges of the day. When we acknowledge that we are not in control, but that God is, we are able to surrender our plans, our worries, and our desires to Him. This surrender allows us to experience peace, knowing that God is the one who ultimately holds our future. Starting the day with gratitude also allows us to practice the art of contentment. It is easy to fall into the trap of comparison, constantly measuring our success against others or longing for what we don't have. But when we begin each day by thanking God, we are reminded that we have everything we need in Him. Gratitude helps us focus on what we have rather than what we lack. It shifts our mindset from one of scarcity to one of abundance, knowing that God has provided for us in every season of our lives. This contentment leads to a greater sense of peace and fulfillment as we learn to appreciate the blessings that are already present in our lives. Additionally, expressing gratitude first thing in the morning sets the tone for our interactions with others throughout the day. When we start the day with a heart full of gratitude, it becomes easier to extend that gratitude to those around us. Our attitudes become more positive and our words more uplifting. Instead of focusing on the flaws and shortcomings of others, we begin to see them through the lens of grace and compassion. Gratitude softens our hearts and enables us to show kindness, patience and understanding. This creates an environment of love and encouragement, which not only strengthens our relationships, but also reflects the love of God to those around us. Moreover, starting the day with thankfulness opens our eyes to the beauty and goodness that exist all around us. When we are grateful, we are more attuned to the small blessings that might otherwise go unnoticed. The warmth of the sun, the laughter of a child, the opportunity to connect with a friend. Gratitude helps us cultivate a sense of wonder and appreciation for the everyday miracles that surround us. It draws our attention away from the negative aspects of life and helps us focus on the positive. This shift in perspective not only enhances our own joy, but also allows us to be a source of light and encouragement to those around us. As we thank God in the morning, we also position ourselves to receive His peace. The world is full of anxiety, worry, and uncertainty, and it's easy to become overwhelmed by the pressures of life. However, when we start the day with gratitude, we open ourselves up to God's peace, which surpasses all understanding. This peace is not based on our circumstances, but on the unwavering assurance that God is in control and that He is working all things for our good. Gratitude helps us let go of our worries and trust that God is with us every step of the way, guiding us through whatever challenges we may face. This peace calms our hearts and minds, allowing us to approach the day with a sense of calm and clarity. Finally, starting the day with thankfulness helps us develop a spirit of generosity. Gratitude opens our hearts to the needs of others, and it compels us to share the blessings we've received. When we recognize how much God has given us, we are more inclined to give to others. Whether it's through acts of kindness, words of encouragement, or material support. Gratitude fuels generosity, and this generosity, in turn, blesses others and brings glory to God. It creates a cycle of giving and receiving that reflects the heart of God's love for His people. By starting each day with gratitude, we are positioning ourselves to live lives of purpose, peace, and generosity. Gratitude transforms our hearts, our relationships, and our perspective on life. It deepens our connection with God, fosters contentment, and empowers us to navigate the challenges of the day with grace and confidence. Through gratitude, we become more attuned to the blessings around us, more aware of the needs of others, and more open to God's guidance and peace. This simple yet powerful practice sets the stage for a day that is filled with joy, purpose, and the presence of God.